of the Lost Archive, the Mitford podcast. I'm Lyn.
And I'm Judith.
And we are thrilled that you're joining us at our virtual campfire here at our podcast, as we're about to blow the dust off the insane story of the Mitford sisters.
We guarantee the most in-depth coverage of the Mitford sisters available anywhere on the internet, here at Raiders of the Lost Archive. So pop on those headphones and let's get ready to raid the Lost Archive.
So what we're about to do is a little bit different from what we normally do on this podcast, because this week the first episode dropped of the show Outrageous, which covers the lives of the Mitford sisters. It's available on Britbox in England, Canada, the US and Australia. So we will talk about the first episode that we've watched. And so we will first talk about the overall feel that we have. Then we will dive a little bit into the reviews that we've read so far. Then we will do a little scene-by-scene analysis and talk about what did we like, what did we not like. And then we will give you an outlook for the next episode and a little peek into the next 5 episodes even. So, shall we get started?
I'm totally thrilled. So I have already seen the first episode at the London premiere last week. And so I've already given my opinion on it, my overall opinion. Lyn, what's your general overall opinion? Thumbs up, thumb in the middle, thumb down.
Yeah, I really liked it. I think it looked very high production value. But what surprised me the most was how good a feel you get for the characters. Because from all the books that I read and all the letters that I read, I still find it very hard to grasp them as real people. And the show, I think, did a really, really good job in showing them as real people, as personalities. And I don't think that is easy to pull off with
I agree.
people that you know only from letters and books, and who in the overall cultural sphere are very, put into their different corners. Like Diana is so much on a pedestal for being Mrs. Oswald Mosley, and it's very hard to pull her down from that, or unity, and to turn them into real people with motivations, and to not have it one-sided and very simple, but to turn them into complex characters. And I did.
Yeah.
I think from the first episode alone, of course, we cannot say too much at this point, but I think they did a good job in the first episode about that.
Yeah. Great, good. Okay, seems like we agree very much. I also am just adding on to what you said, and yeah, I completely agree with it, that like you get the human side of all of them, which is beautifully done. What you also get is like a very good first feeling of the relationships among the sisters. They do care for each other. They care for their parents as well. The parents for them. Like, even though there is conflict, of course, there are different expectations, all these things. But there's a sense of closeness between them, and I'm pretty sure from what I understood from Sarah Williams, the writer and creator, that was very close to her heart, I believe. So she attended the London premiere and said a few words and answered a few questions. And from everything I understood, like that was one of the things that she really wanted to bring across. And the whole team, cast and crew, did a marvelous job at that.
Yeah. Also, the first episode, and I think they will continue to do that, mainly centers around it's in the family, and on the only people from outside the family who are added to the scenes are their for very specific reasons. But
Yeah.
the sisters do not get like random friends they talk to. They talk to their sisters. So it's very much about this family dynamic, which was what we expected, because the trailer very much hinted to that.
Yeah. Agreed. Yeah. And a lot of this first episode was also in the trailer.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Good.
So, and also, I think it there's a lot of exposition happening, of course, because you need that. You need a lot of introduction of the very many people. But still, the first episode ends pretty much with a bang announcement. And I think that it was a bit rushed. We will talk about that later, how that was rushed. But they needed something at the end so that something big happens in that episode, and not just introduction and chit-chat.
Yeah. I mean, that is one thing, and then the other thing is, like because they needed something at the end. That's why they also I feel that's why they started off with, like, Nancy starts off with introducing Diana first and kind of like making her the one person who sort of sets everything in motion. Mm-hmm. Like in the very first scene where they're all playing around on the swimming pool.
Mm-hmm. Do you have something more to add, or shall we go into the reviews a little?
Let's go into the reviews.
There is not a lot that I can say about that, because they have the reviews have been very much the same from all the sources I read. Reviews are very good over on the different newspapers, and what was very much highlighted was how well this story fits into our time now.
The zeitgeist.
The zeitgeist, exactly. How fitting it is to bring this story to life in our time, and what the parallels are from their time to our time today, and how much of a warning it also is, the story, how it played out, to maybe listen to today. And it was what was highlighted a lot too was the general fascination people still have for these sisters after so many years, and very many columnists or writers wrote about why do we care so much after such a long time. But it is an intriguing story. It is 6 women who did not do what society expected them to do, and that is so rare. And I think this is where most of the fascination is coming from.
Yes, like that, and then on the other hand, of course, that like you have the major political, or like the major clash of political ideologies, like in that era of communism and fascism playing out, and like that is very much manifests within the family and the sisters, and we get the first hint to that in the first episode.
Yeah. I agree. One review, I cannot remember who it was, but one review even mentioned what I said several times in the last episodes of the podcast, is that the sisters are connected to every major event in the first half of the last century. So I'm not the only one who thinks this. It is true. I mean, even I think it's so insane that even Deborah, who basically just goes off, marries a guy, and then becomes Duchess and rebuilds a castle, she is connected to all the catastrophes that befall the Kennedy clan, and it's just insane. And I think this is all these little aspects together form a bigger picture that is hard to believe that it's true, and that's why. Before we see the first shot in the episode, there is a text that says this insane story is based on true events. it depicts real actions of real people, because otherwise people would not believe that this really happened.
100%.
Of all the events.
And to be fair, like it was made very clear in the trailers, I feel as well, that it's based on a true story. And like I feel like the word true came up pretty much like in the teaser trailer, in the trailer.
Yeah.
And
so
it is good to highlight that.
Yeah. So overall, the reviews were pretty good. The acting was very much highlighted, and the overall entertainment people felt very entertained by it. So, and I agree with that.
I was entertained.
Yeah.
Were you?
Yeah. I was, and I was. And it still felt, I mean, you have a ball scene and you have all the dresses and it still felt like a family story at many points. Like you see Decca and Unity playing, being silly in their room and so on, and the family around the breakfast table. These are scenes that were very small, where only very few people, so it didn't feel like it's this big grand thing all the time. It was very nuanced. Very many scenes play in the house, in their rooms, in the staircase. So it feels small, very intimate. At the same time, you have the balls and the dresses and all that.
The grandeur.
So there was a good balance between that, and so you are close to the characters, but you also get glimpses of the broader picture, and I think they balance this well.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Like it fits the term family saga. Again, what they wanted to do.
Yeah.
And there is a quite good saying that the political sphere is always also very much a private sphere, and that it's often best shown in private spaces and like on a small scales, like in the family nucleus.
Yeah.
And that is exactly what is going on, and like what is so striking and fascinating about the story of Outrageous and the Mitfords.
Yeah. So we will talk through every scene now. We will try to do this quickly because otherwise we will be here the day after tomorrow. So let's go in and let's really try our best to keep it short and simple.
I'll start very quickly. The almost first thing you see is an old family picture, and like the Mitfords took several of those family pictures. We still have them today. They set up that family picture with the cast of Outrageous, of course, like with Joanna Vanderham and everyone else. But like it looks exactly like those old photos, and like they use that to sort of turn it around and say, well, this is like we were all supposed, like we 6 sisters were all supposed to in the next few years be married off and sort of nurture the aristocrats of tomorrow, the future of British aristocracy. And then Nancy says, well, this isn't quite what happened. And then that sort of like triggers, like that is the first ball of the story.
Mm-hmm. So then we, what I found good when watching it was that they give you a month and a year for the scenes, so they count forward, because in historical pieces it is so hard sometimes to keep track of and then you see one scene and you know when it approximately was. I mean, not in this show, in not other shows.
Yeah.
And then there is the next scene, and you think, oh, this is right after, and then in the dialogue you see, no, this is 5 years later. What the fuck?
Yeah.
And you are kind of lost, and this does not happen here, and I like it.
No, and like they did this simply and beautifully. I like it. Like I don't know, call me a nerd or whatever. I'm fine with that. But like I like it, like to have the month and the year and the number, and like I know where I am on a timeline.
Yeah.
It's brilliant.
So the first real scene starts in September 1931, and we see this the swimming pool scene that was the center of the trailer. So all the siblings are by the pool on a summer day, and it looks very extravagant. I think it was very... I'm sure they did not have parties like this at a swimming pool drinking champagne all day. This is not how the family worked, but it's a beautiful scene, and it works to... Nancy is the narrator, and she introduces her siblings to us, the audience. So we see Nancy introducing herself. Then she says, "This is my sister Diana. She's the beauty. She has an iron will." This is how she's characterized.
Yeah.
Then her brother Tom. So she's introducing her siblings by age. "This is my brother Tom. He's the heir." And I thought Tom was gorgeous. I think he's so beautiful. he's a very good-looking man.
Quite dashing.
Yeah, I like Tom. So then, I'm blushing. Sorry. Because Tom is, I read many times that Tom was so beautiful, but it doesn't show in the pictures, and there are not many photos with him, so I couldn't tell. But the actor who plays Tom looks very good on the show, I must say. So, that Pam, she's the quiet one, but quiet runs deep. And then the foolish younger ones. The three younger ones are not introduced very much. So, I think it was very nicely done to do this roundup, and but it was also very over the top. It was a lot.
It looked very swanky.
Yeah.
There's no doubt about that. Yes.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, it looked swanky. It sounded swanky. I mean, what you see is like you see them being a bit wild, running around, like causing mayhem.
The next scene after the swimming pool was the one we see Diana's country house, where she lives with her husband Bryan. And they have something like a fancy lunch on a terrace. All the siblings and friends are together. This is a scene with lots of introduction. This is exposition, who is who. They're reading a newspaper article to give you a bit of a background on all the people. And we meet Hamish, Nancy's crush and secret unofficial fiancé. Yeah. Hamish is flamboyant. I mean, he was... we know that in real life it turned out that he was gay. Nancy didn't know. But when you see Hamish in this scene, it's like gay all over the place. It's like rainbows. It's not subtle. It's not subtle at all.
I mean, it's not overly flamboyant, to be fair. But
he wears like this morning.
Yes, he does. It's very
dress,
colorful.
You know,
like,
yes,
yes,
it's
yes, 100%. But it's not crossing a line, I feel.
Yeah.
Maybe.
So
do we know the actor who plays him? Do we know if he's? I mean, not that it matters.
Not
but, like,
from the top of my head now.
Okay, but like I also, and like this is I got like those flamboyant and like those gay vibes.
He reminded me of Ben Whishaw.
Yeah,
so, but
that's a good comparison.
It's not Ben Whishaw. Some other dude.
Yeah.
So, and we learned that Diana and Bryan Guinness are very, very rich, and the newspaper says, "Oh, Nancy is unofficially engaged to Hamish," and Nancy freaks out a bit. She is very hurt and runs away with the newspaper.
Yeah, she's outraged.
Yeah. First of many outragings.
Yes.
So, next scene.
Yeah, it's also introduced, in that scene it's also introduced that Unity will, that next year, 1932, will be Unity's debutante year.
Yeah, but we will see this later in the episode anyway. So next scene
is one between Diana and Nancy. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's like they talk about, well, first Nancy's relationship with Hamish, because that was just the last thing that happened. So it kind of ties back into that. And Nancy sort of says, well, I'm trying to have patience with him. I'm setting him a deadline of half a year, of 6 months. And then we see Diana with her baby. And she's sort of like, you get the sense, well, that she talks about men having a job and a purpose and how important that is. And you get the sense that Bryan, her husband, doesn't have that, and that she's missing something. And she says, well, Bryan is so content. Yeah. And that seems to make him unattractive for her.
Yeah.
And then Nancy sort of concludes the scene saying, well, that was the first inkling that things might unravel in a different way.
Yeah. So Diana is not satisfied with her husband and her perfect life. She wants something more. I think they did this beautifully, actually. This in the small scenes with just a few lines of dialogue to give you the motivation for why this marriage does not work for her, even though it looks so perfect.
Yeah, me too. I had several times the feeling that like they are saying a lot with a few words, which is great, which is fantastic. Yeah.
Yeah, this is good writing.
Yes, 100%. And like again in the scene before, where you have like all the friends and siblings sitting at that casual luncheon, they Diana and Bryan are very much introduced as the perfect couple. And then like in the very next scene, you get the sense that like, oh, maybe not that perfect.
No. So then we move to March 1932, and we see
to Oxfordshire.
To Oxfordshire, and we see the fortress, as they call it, which is the house the Mitford family lives in, has been in the family for hundreds of blah blah blah, very long time.
Lyn, did the Mitfords call it the fortress?
I don't know. I've never heard that.
Okay.
But so that was news to me. But when they go with it within the show, that's fine. And we see the father taking a bath, and I think it is that they did this really. It was very interesting how they did that, because he's not in a bath like you would show a lord taking a bath. You see him very...
You see an elderly man.
Yeah, scrubbing his feet.
Yeah.
You know?
Very
doing all the... It's...
Yes. And then seeing
it doesn't make him look good.
Butt.
Yeah.
Yeah. Seeing his naked butt, like the dog is kind of turning away.
Yeah.
It's shot in a very decent way, in a super humorous way. Like I find this, like I found that scene so funny.
Yeah.
Like it's one of my favorite scenes.
But
it's shot really well as well. Like with very interesting angles.
Yeah, and what a way to introduce a character, and the character who is supposed to be the head of the family and a lord. I mean, he's scrubbing his feet and he's doing all the bits that you do that people don't. Normally when you show people in films having a bath, it looks different. Mostly it's women who look really good and hot and sexy.
Kind of watch themselves sexy.
Yeah. Yeah, and he's like, no, this is how we do it, and I scrub here and I scrub under my arm. Yeah. So this is a very interesting way to introduce him
100%. It's not entirely flattering to the second Lord Redesdale, but that it might like it's a fitting introduction.
Yeah, and we learned that Black Friday had just happened. He has lost a lot of money. We have already talked about this in the previous episode, how he was not very good with money, or anything else for that matter. So then we moved to the family breakfast scene that was also shown in the trailer.
Can I throw in a little bit?
Sure.
So when they moved, like when Farve and like they all moved to like gather then at the breakfast table, like you hear a bell ringing, and that is Big Ben. Like that is the tune of Big Ben. It's like it's like it can't get more British than that.
And we see Farve, all the family stands behind their chairs in the breakfast room, and he counts down 6 seconds until Nancy will be too late for breakfast. And he's counting, so he's very strict about things. The mother too, she comes down for breakfast, and she constantly asks the girls, sit upright, table manners are very important. Yes, all this very strict stuff by them. When it comes to expected behavior. And the talk at the breakfast table goes to is about Decca, who wants to go to school, and she's proposing, I found a new school, and her parents are strictly against her going to school, and most of her sisters as well. They are like, no, school is stupid and it's only for boys, and all the boys hate it, and so nobody's taking her side.
Yeah, and Jessica wants to go to school because she wants to go to university.
Yeah,
and yeah.
So then Farve announces that because he has lost so much money, this will affect several aspects of the family. They will rent out their house in Mayfair, and when they need to go to London for the season, because Unity will be presented to court, and they are expected to.
Sorry, not to court, to society.
No, to court. They showed up at court.
Yes, sorry, the royal court.
The royal court, Buckingham.
Yes.
Yeah, when you
yes,
enter society, you show up in the Buckingham Palace and are presented to the king and queen. Farve and Sydney are expected to have a ball and host several things in their home, and they say, well, when we only have like 2 rooms above the garage in Mayfair, then we cannot do any of that. But the money is not there. They have to rent out the house. They will cut down on the boiler and the heating, on the hot baths, and he will cut the allowances of the daughters. And Pam is fine with that because she works as a manager for the country house of Bryan Guinness, and she gets a paycheck. And Nancy is an author, but this does not pay enough. And Nancy has a snobbish taste. She wants all the nice things and the nice clothes, and she says, oh, I'm so poor, how will I survive in the world? And
Farve hints to that, kind of saying like, just buy less lipstick. Yeah. Can I check, did Pam actually work as a farm manager?
Yeah, she did.
Okay.
She did work on Bryan Guinness farm at this time.
Okay, I was surprised that I'm surprised that is true. I thought that was something they made up, and I mean it's quite unusual. That is super unusual for the time.
It kind of developed from because she liked the country life. She liked the quiet life. She was very good in managing animals and managing ordering the chicken feed and taking care of all the animals and all the farm stuff. This is what she did in her parents' home as well, a lot of that. And then it kind of, I think Bryan said something like, I need someone to do that, and Diana proposed her name and said, why don't you ask Pam? Because she's good at this. So this is how it happened.
Yeah, in that newspaper article that we have in the second scene, they call her the fancy female farmer. Which I really like for the alliteration, but also sort of just for that combination of words, and because it was quite unheard of back then.
Then we see in the next scene, Decca and Unity are in their room. They shared a room, and they are playing War and Rebels in their room. So they, Unity is plays a soldier who's attacking a rebel, and they shoot each other with makeshift, their hands or makeshift guns. And then the mother comes in and scolds them and says, "Oh, you have to step up to your new role. You will be you will be wives and mothers, because if you do not secure a marriage soon, then you will have no place in society. So, step it up, girls."
so no place in society, that's one thing. But then she also says like your father and I, like we can't support you forever.
Yeah,
and
you
like
will be poor.
Yeah, yes, but basically, and then she's saying, well, you're neither pretty nor have you any sort of practical skills. And then she says, well, at least Nancy's clever, Diana's pretty, Pam is practical. And I mean, they do all, like, they are all sort of looked after money wise. Like in a not Nancy maybe not as much, but like yeah, she's not completely poor, and she has her wits at least and rights, and like I mean for Sydney the mum, like it must have been quite hard and tough to sort of, and I mean she must have felt quite desperate sometimes about her daughters.
Even though I mean this scene, the action between the sisters was very fine. That was very sweet to see how they fool around. But the scene where the mother comes in, I think this is not the feel that I had from any of the books or the letters that I read, because the girls didn't feel pressured into getting married. This feels a bit like. It's very Downton Abbey. It's very Jane Austen. This whole, oh, you have to get married because your father is poor and he cannot pay for you and your 5 sisters, like in Pride and Prejudice. This is, I understand that they go with this for the show, but the girls never felt like this because there's nothing about this in any of the letters that they felt pressured into getting married. Surely the elder sisters. They knew when I do not get married, then I will be an old spinster. And that's the problem, because what is your place in society? But the whole thing about you have to get married to someone, and so you're looked after. This is something that I mostly know from Jane Austen. This is not something that was a big factor in how. I mean, the girls just didn't care much. They knew somehow something will figure out. This is how aristocracy works, kind of. We will be fine. We've always been fine. Something will come around.
Yeah, we will always land on our feet. And I mean, to be fair, like that part struck me a little bit as like slightly contradictory because Nancy's 28 years old. Like she's almost already an old spinster at that stage, and plus like she complained earlier that like I won't have enough money, even though she made some money with her writing. It's like so, and then the question of course arises: well, why didn't they pressure Nancy more to get married? Because like if there had been so much pressure on the family as a whole and on the parents and economic pressure. They would have found her a husband. Period. Yeah. Like I mean, that's what they did.
Yeah, from the 6 sisters, in the first episode, 4 of them, because Unity comes out to society, 4 of them are out. Only 1 is married. This is not a good ratio.
No,
for a family.
No, it's not.
Did you notice on the top of the piano, because Decca is playing the piano here, on the top of the piano there was a running away jar. Did you see that?
No.
There was a big glass jar with coins and a few notes in it, and there was a label that said "running away jar," and I think that's nice that they like put it. Yeah, they put it there to give a first hint of what will come later.
Yes.
She really did have. It was not a jar; it was a bank account, but she did have a bank account that said running away jar, and this is how it was listed in the bank accounts, because she wrote to the bank and said, I want this bank account for this reason, and they responded, they named it that.
And the bank allowed her to do that and didn't inform her father or her parents.
At some point they found out, but she was very secretive about the whole thing. But this running away bank account or jar in the show, this really did happen, and she worked on this money for a long time. Like she raised her own chickens and sold the eggs, and all the money that she made from the eggs went into this running away jar. All the birthday money that she got, the Christmas money, everything went into this bank account. And she used this money for this exact purpose. She used it for running away with Esmond Romilly.
Yeah. Yes. Amazing. Yes. So I probably didn't see that running away job because I had my eyes completely on the very tiny little star in that scene. We see the rat for the first time. And like the rat has a name, of course, like the actual rat. That is Chuck the rat.
The acting rat.
Yes, the actor, the acting,
Okay.
It's called Chuck the rat.
And, because the real rat was called Enid.
Ah, right. Okay.
So Chuck is a boy rat. Enid was a girl rat. But I didn't.
I reckon.
notice.
Yes. Well, we. But Chuck does a great job.
Okay.
And we'll see Chuck again later in 2 other scenes.
Yeah. So let's try to be a bit quicker. There was so much to do. Then we see the next scene is very important because we see Oswald Mosley in the next scene for the first time. It's a political evening. Di and Bryan are out, and Oswald Mosley is giving political speech in some fancy salon living room.
Yeah.
And Bryan is not a fan of politics. And he thinks it's boring. He goes early and leaves her alone, which is not a good idea.
Yeah. And he says an interesting thing as well. Like I stumbled across this. He says to Diana. So because Bryan wants to leave, but he of course wants that like you leave together as a couple, right? But Diana says, well, it's too early to leave. Like, wouldn't it look kind of weird and be rude? And he says, you know what? Let's separate. And like I felt like, and I'm not sure if they did it on purpose or not. They might have. They might have.
I'm pretty
because
sure they did.
I'm pretty sure because it's foreboding what will then happen at the end of that episode.
Yeah. So we see Oswald very passionately giving a speech, which is about being a fighter for the working class and social justice, which is all things that really did matter to Diana. And this is all topics that, of course, there's nothing bad about that. Yeah. And he did feel at the time, a political void. Fighting against poverty, fighting for the working class. No other political party of the time addressed that, not even Labour. They didn't really do anything against poverty.
So they let their people down.
Yeah. So that's why he created his own party at this point, the British Fascist Union. Yeah. So, but we see, the first time we see him, he's talking about really matters close to his heart. It's believable, it's passionate, and you understand why a woman who has everything and a husband who, well, doesn't really have a passion for anything would be intrigued by this. And
he's ambitious. Like he has a vision. He is a visionary, and he has a passion. All these things, and Bryan appears quite bland in a way. Like even though he's really good looking and he's dashing, and I feel like the real Bryan Guinness was good looking as well, right? Yeah. They were just a very pretty couple together, but you can't have all that.
I think the idea of them as a couple was so intriguing because she was the most beautiful debutante and he was so beautiful and rich, and the idea of them together, I think that is what caught Diana. And she also said she wanted to marry early to get out of the house, out of the fortress.
Yes.
Yeah.
It was her way out, her exit.
Yeah.
Can I quickly ask something again? So in that scene, they say that Oswald Mosley, who's called Tom Mosley, supposedly.
Yeah.
Was first member of the Tory party, then a member of Labour, and now founded his own party, the British Fascist Union. Yeah. That is correct? Okay, that is historically correct.
Yeah, he bounced around a lot between the parties, which was not very unusual. Winston Churchill changed parties several times. Somehow in Britain you can do that.
Yes. And in the US, it's not very unusual as well.
Yeah. His name is Oswald Mosley. He was really named Tom a lot. I'm not sure why. Maybe this was his second name. I don't know why. Diana went on to, because they have so many nicknames for each other. Diana also called him Kit a lot. Okay. And in her letters, she always called him the leader, which is only the English word for Führer. She writes about him in her personal letters to her sisters and talks about, the leader and I went out. I think that's a very weird. It's very weird to call your husband
weird way,
the leader in front of your sisters.
Yes, but like it probably sort of brings across like what she sees in him and like what she admired about him and like that, like what made her get divorced ultimately and then turn to him.
And we also he gives the speech and then he and Diana talk and we see how her eyes go like so something in her head has already happened and then he says like, I met you, I saw you here, and then they have never been introduced, so they have never talked before, but he knows several events where she was and how she looked and that he thought about her and she's smitten, she's cockstruck and that's then things escalate quickly from here and he invites her to a fundraiser. So
and then we have times change in the next scene to May 1932 and we see Nancy and Hamish in a swanky cafe somewhere and apparently Hamish had called her to tell her something important. He wanted to see her to tell her something important and sort of it doesn't get too clear but if you remember that like she had set him a deadline of 6 months then like May is actually the time by when that deadline is over. So Nancy has like put effort and money into making her hair, borrowing a new dress from someone. She took the bus because she couldn't afford the taxi. And then she sits there and waits like completely and thinks like, finally, after all this time, he's going to propose to me. And then
nothing. He
tells her, the important thing I needed to tell you, I love you.
Yeah.
Yes.
Hamish is he's such an idiot. So she's very let down, and he also, to rub salt in the wound, he also says, marriage and babies are just dull.
They're not fun. And then he said, now let's go out and have fun.
Yeah, and I will give you gossip instead. And she's like, okay, yeah. And she also says, I've waited 4 years for you already. And that's a lot. That's a lot.
Yeah. Has she waited 4 years for him?
Yeah. And
I mean, he wasn't, like, he's not from a rich family himself, right? Like, that is sort of something...
Well, he did go to one of these schools, so the parents had money. He still depends on his parents in his mid-20s. He never made a real career, so... Yeah. He's not an impressive person. He didn't do anything impressive, really. So then we move to they call it the damp London flat. This is the flat above the garage because in London, in Mayfair, because they rented the house to people to get some money.
The swanky, elegant city house, they rented it out to tenants. And so, now they are staying in a small damp flat. And the first thing you see of that flat is like a damp spot somewhere on the ceiling.
Yeah. And Marv is sewing Unity's coming out dress by hand. Unity doesn't like it. Marv is doing the best she can. And then Tom returns from court. He lost a case, but he doesn't seem to care. They don't really take anything serious, do they?
No.
No, but Tom is handsome, so who cares?
He's so that's all it takes.
Yeah, and I was wondering, because he has a little case which contains his wig, his court wig. Because in England, the lawyers wear these wigs.
And the judges.
And the judges, they still do that today, don't they?
Yes, they still do that today.
This is
they wear wigs.
so silly.
And the wigs
it is so
expensive.
silly. Yeah. And then you carry it around, your wig, in a little, like, a hat box or something. In a wig box. This is so silly. Are there any other countries where you still do that? It's such nonsense.
I don't think so. They definitely don't do it in the US, because otherwise, like, we would see that more often. All those courtroom dramas. I'm not 100% sure about Australia or Canada. Yeah. They definitely do it here still so to this day.
So, so the takeaway from the scene is there is financial trouble in the family, and it's serious. So, but Unity's coming out party, Bryan Guinness has proposed that they do this in his country house. So it will be a big affair anyway. So then we see Nancy on a bus. She's riding on a bus on her way home, like all the poor girls that we are, like a normal person. Going home from a date on a bus. People. Crying on a bus is not as good as crying in a Rolls Royce. So, and she returns to the damp flat of her parents, and
she gets home late. Sydney, her mum, waited up, or both parents kind of might have waited for her and like stayed up. She said they don't need to do it, kisses them goodbye, gets off. And then Sydney says that Hamish isn't good for her. That is the one thing. And then that's where she asks David, her husband, who's sitting over the accounts, if he needs any help with the accounts, because 4 eyes are better than 2. And he says no. Perfectly under control.
He is an idiot. So he is useless. So this is the takeaway. Yeah, Hamish is an idiot. And Farve is useless as well.
The next scene is a very funny one, I find. So you see Nancy and Joss, her friend. So that is the Attenborough. What's his first name?
This is Tom
Attenborough.
Will I think.
Will
this
Attenborough,
is
sorry.
In our last episode we talked about who this character is, because I didn't recognize the name. Because they made it up. This character did not exist. And it was hinted that he is not rich, that he has to work for his money. I read in some marketing stuff given out that he is supposed to be a Jewish character, and they did this on purpose because it will probably be important later because of the rising anti-Semitism. This is just I think they will do this because otherwise it wouldn't make much sense. And they are on a park bench, Nancy and Joss.
Yeah, and he seems to be like a quite close friend with Nancy. Like they talk about intimate stuff, but like even though they're man woman, they're they're just friends, nothing else.
Yeah.
And he sort of counsels her, challenges her a little bit on her relationship and like why she's still waiting for Hamish to propose to her, and if there's really any sense in that still.
Did you have sex, Nancy? And she
asks that on the park bench, and then Nancy's like,
no.
No. And then I mean it's hilarious. Then he says like, do you think could it be that he's a friend of Oscar Wilde?
Yeah, that was a good line.
Basically asking like, is he gay?
And she's like, no, he told me. I asked him.
He told me not.
Yeah. She's such a poor girl. I mean, she really is. I mean, she did not choose her man wisely. None of them.
And then Joss said something like very funny again, saying like, if he isn't gay, then it might be the English problem.
Yeah.
And this is something I really again like about this series. Like it's taking a very humorous stance on some things.
Yeah.
On British and English identity and sort of like on the aristocracy, but with a warmth. like it's not cold, but like it's sort of like wholeheartedly coming from a good spot. It's very nice humor.
Yeah. And he suggests to Nancy, well, when Hamish doesn't do anything sexual, then you have to seduce him. Try to be the active part. And she's like, but I have no clue what to do. and I really pity her at this point, because I mean, this is just, I mean, women had no idea. Yeah, nobody told them. So
no.
Then we moved into June 1932, and Diana is at the opera with a friend, and Oswald is there, and they are in a booth together, and he strikes her hair and said, God, I've missed you. This, I found, is quite a move towards a married woman. This is very, very direct.
Yes, I thought so
This
too.
is much more direct than it really would have happened. We do not see a reaction from Diana, and I did not know what to, because I felt maybe this is not the next time the episode makes it feel like this was the second time they met, but probably it was not. Maybe something was left out and we didn't get to see, but it's not clear if this is the case. But from what happens at the end of the episode, I think, yes, they have met several times in between.
Yeah.
And they are much closer at this moment, at this event, than you would have expected. So they're leaving something out here.
Yes, and like I feel that gets quite clear. Like that gets almost clear in that scene because of Diana's reaction, or because she doesn't have a negative reaction of, I don't know, being outraged because she's a married woman or something. She isn't.
Yeah. So then the next scene, Nancy takes the advice from Joss and tries to seduce Hamish. They are at a house party somewhere, and Hamish is in another bedroom, and she slips into his bed at night, and very funny way, very clumsily, she tries to seduce him. She does not know what she's doing, and he very much.
But she's going for it.
Yeah, but he very much does not. Like, he's super uncomfortable with it. He's like, his whole body is tense. He's so tense.
Yes, and you cannot only see it, you feel it. You feel like, oh, he's like, oh. It's sort of like the look I feel like sometimes that, like, I think I have, like, on my face when, like, I'm being approached, like, in an, I don't know, not really appropriate way. Or, like, when women are approached. And it's, like, that's a very similar look on the face.
And
just the other way around that time.
Yeah, and Nancy is like, what's going on? Why are you weird? And he says, oh, breaking news, I'm going to the US on Friday for at least a year, maybe forever. Can't say. And she freaks out a bit because he has not told her. And he's like, oh, but my parents are pressuring me into going to New York and having a job.
They threatened to cut me off.
Yeah,
my
they cut me
allowance.
off. I mean, this is a grown-up man, okay? This is not attractive. and she's like, why didn't you tell me?
Not. Yeah. It's not. It's He looks really weak in that scene.
Yeah, and so this is really what happened too. He really went to the US.
I was wondering. Okay.
They know people, and some people they know were in New York and said, yeah, send your boy over. We will give him a job. This is another, privileged boys getting chances in life because of their parents' relations. And what happened? He blew the whole thing. He was useless. He proved to be useless. He was sent back. But I do not want to go anymore into this at the moment because we do not know how this will play out in the second episode, probably. So, and Nancy is angry. Her plan did not go well. He will not marry her.
Outraged again.
So.
She's outraged again and leaves the bedroom. Yeah.
So.
And then we go back to the Guinness's estate. Yeah, and we see Bryan Guinness getting back from somewhere, and he wants to have a word with Diana.
Yeah, And apparently she has been out with Mosley having lunch. It sounds very innocent. She says, "Oh, I had lunch on Monday with this person, Tuesday with this person," and
it's just go on.
Yeah, and she said, "Oh, it's just political, and I'm intrigued by his ideas." And Bryan is like, I mean, he's very calm. It's not that he's mad at her. It's more like people started talking. Apparently, this was not the only lunch she had with Mosley. Apparently, she has been sneaking around with him. People noticed. And this makes him look bad. So he's like, this is not good when it's out in the open. You cannot have lunch with him anymore.
Yeah.
And she says, "Okay.
Sorry. I understand. Yes. Yeah.
So we know that they... so this is why I thought the scene in the opera was not the first encounter after the initial meeting. They had lunch. Apparently, when people started talking, there was not only one lunch. There must have been a succession of events where they must have behaved in a way that made people look funny. And it got through to Bryan. A lot of things must happen to... I mean, it's not one... It must have been obvious for people.
Yeah. I mean, and sort of like about the... I mean, I agree, they sort of could have shown that probably a bit more progressive, like in stages, like how the relationship between Diana and Oswald Mosley evolved. But like, I'm pretty sure, I mean, you have to take decisions and sort of like fit your series into sort of certain time slots, and that's it. Like, that's all you can do. So like you have to sort of just cut things sometimes. And it's like, it would have been nice to see more, but was it necessary? I don't think so. Like, yeah. It could have been one more small scene maybe, but then like, what else would I have cut? I'm not sure. Like, it's tough decision making.
Yeah. The pacing of this relationship is what annoyed me the most, but we will talk about this later at our conclusion. So then we have Unity's coming out party at Bryan's big ass fancy pants house. We see Winston Churchill arriving. He greets Diana. They were not very close, I think, but he liked her very, very much. He was Winston Churchill's favorite.
We see Winston Churchill arriving, like, and we see his car arriving outside, and we see there are people gathered, and like there's something happening. Like we get a first sense of that, which is really intelligently done, I feel.
Yeah.
Because it's like, it's very lightly introduced.
Yeah. Then Unity comes out in her dress. She walks down the stairs. Everyone's clapping like, "Yoo-hoo, now she's out." And Diana greets her and welcomes her into the world of the grown-ups. And we learn that the dress we see is not the dress that Muff hand sewed for her. So Diana just bought, with Bryan's money, a better dress. Because Diana did many nice things for her sisters. This is what, even in the first episode alone, there are several hints like what Diana did for her sisters.
What I felt in that scene when Unity comes down the stairs, like Diana, like at least, or Joanna Vanderham, like the actor, she looks genuinely excited for her sister and like just loves seeing her and is sort of like just happy for her, which is sort of nice. Again, like, let's remember Diana is the woman, like known as the woman who never smiled in photos. And she looks very cold in all the photos, and she is she's not shown like this. No, but like you get a very like a sense that she had quite a lot of warmth for her sisters and siblings. Yeah.
So what else in this scene? Nancy is not interested in any other man at the party, even the rich ones who ask for her specifically. Diana is very good at social events. And Oswald is there. He has been invited, and he looks at her. He wants her for juju. So then we move out. The second youngest, the two youngest daughters are not allowed downstairs at the ball because they are not out. So they are in their normal clothing upstairs, and Decca looks out of the window and she sees the protesters.
Yes, then dressing gowns upstairs, and she sees the protests where like they are sort of calling for, like, there were hunger strikes, and they say support the hunger marches. And I mean, it's obscene, right? Because outside that mansion, the people don't have enough to eat, and like inside, then you cut to that, and like you see people, I don't know, with swanky cocktail glasses, swanky dresses, like jazz music players, and a rat that gets fat cake.
This is very. I found this very in your face, the comparison, like there are protesters in front of the house. Why would they be there? Because Winston is there? I understand that they had to combine these two things, and they had to give Decca something to look at, something to intrigue her, to give her the spark. But the way it was done, I think it was a bit too much in your face. But it does work. I mean, the difference between the outside of the house and the inside works, and then the outside of the house gets inside because the protesters fight their way inside.
Yes.
So, but this happens a little later. Diana dances with Winston. There's a reason for why we see her with Winston a lot in this episode, because this will become important later. And we have another scene with Nancy and her male, only a friend, Joss.
Yeah, where they talk about, the end of the relationship with Hamish. Well, and Joss sort of like is sort of like the well-meaning but a bit more objective friend, and says, well, at least now you're set free. You can go for all these other men here. And then Nancy sort of concludes, well, she, like, you can see that she's not really into the idea of like looking for another man. She's still grappling with, I don't know, like the love that she must have felt for Hamish. And then she sort of concludes saying, well, I still live with my parents, I'm penniless, and I'm still a virgin at 28. And sort of like sums up her life. Like that small statement.
Yeah, it does not, I mean, you do pity her at this moment. It's kind of bleak. I mean, yeah, she was a successful author, but still, being a virgin at 28 is kind of, I mean, if you don't want to be, then it's late to join the game.
Yeah.
So the next, Unity does not enjoy her party. She dances a little bit. She does not enjoy it at all. Oswald.
She is so stiff. Her dancing, she looks as if, I don't know, they had put a stick in the back of her dress.
Yeah. We see Oswald passionately talking at Winston Churchill, not with him, but at him. Unity feeds her rat that she carried around in her purse, and then
Chuck the rat.
And Diana and Unity have a scene at the staircase, and Unity is like, "Oh, what am I supposed to marry one of these idiots here?"
So Unity basically sort of fled from her own party.
Yeah.
And left it because like she didn't like any men. She didn't like the whole thing. It was all too much for her. Yeah.
Which is very much like she did feel about this.
Okay.
So this was never. She never was into. She just thought this is boring. It was not her cup of tea. We already know that there are not many scenes that will play in Germany in the rest of the season, but Unity had a very active sex life in Munich.
Yes,
and she had
from her diaries.
Yeah, she had a boyfriend. She also had some other man coming over. She took notes in her diary when they had sex. There were many men over, so she was very, very active. This was not the part that she that didn't work for her. It was the whole moving from the fortress into another cage. And this whole doing normal thing that I expected to her, this simply was not her cup of tea.
Yeah.
So
And then Diana joins her like on the staircase, and like we have another like on one hand this is a very nice warm scene between two sisters, and like Diana cares for her and sort of like tries to sort of like find out what's going on, but then basically sort of says, well, takes that as a segue to saying, well, something big will have to change in this country, and there is a man who's sort of about to do that, and I think he might become the future prime minister. Shall I introduce you to him? And then that's what she does.
Yeah. So Unity.
And we see Unity and Oswald talking a little later. In the background.
Yeah. Then we also see Diana dancing with Oswald, even though Bryan is right there. And then the protesters from outside barge into the house, and there's a little fighting going on.
Can I say one thing quickly about like Diana and Oswald dancing in that scene? What is interesting and striking is that the score, the music, the tone of it is at first very romantic when the two of them start dancing, but then it sort of like gets very foreboding and like has a threatening ending. Like, so that is done marvelously.
Yeah. And then there's this fighting in the house, which ends with blood on the floor. And this is foreboding.
Yes.
So, and then we very quickly come to the end of the episode. Di sits down Nancy and Tom, or drops in on them as they are alone in a room, and says, you two are the most important people to me, and I have to make an announcement. And she says, I will leave Bryan tomorrow morning. I will ask him for a divorce. And it comes completely out of the blue for both of siblings. Tom advises against it. He says this is basically social suicide. You will lose everything. Everyone will hate you. And Nancy, because of her own breakup, of course, and heartbreak, she's like, but Di knows what the consequences of her action are.
She knows what she's giving up.
So she should do as she sees fits.
Yeah. Could I quickly check, like from a time point of view, like was Unity's coming out into society, was that like around the time when Diana asked for a divorce, and when Nancy and Hamish split up? Like, was that all sort of like, it's portrayed as if it was.
Yeah, I would have to look that up. The Hamish correlation is true, but Hamish will, I mean, in the real story, he came back for a while. So this was not, when he went to America, this was not the final breakup. He came back after a while. And then the final breakup happened later. So maybe they were rushing. I'm not sure if this, it looks to me as if Hamish is not coming back in the show.
Yeah.
And because this is made as like the big breakup for Nancy. It would be, it will set Nancy on a new path.
Yeah.
I'm not sure, I would have to look this up, what the timing was of Unity's coming out and Diana's announcement. It is true that Unity's prospects were eyed suspiciously, like, oh, she has no chances now that Diana blew it. Unity didn't care, of course. The parents cared a little. What struck me was the pace. I said it before, the pace of this relationship, and I know how much they left out, how much stuff they could have used well, because this whole it's almost like a courtship of Oswald, who was married at the time, that he's courting Diana into becoming his mistress, and this went on for quite a while. It was, I think, maybe 9 months or so. And what happened was that he mentioned this in the show. I saw you in Venice last year, the summer holiday, and they went to summer holiday. Oswald and his wife Cynthia and Diana and Bryan, and they were all at the Lido together. So the couples were there. They met there, or they went there together, and they spent there several weeks. And what happened was that Diana started her relationship with Oswald there in Venice for everyone to see. Bryan was there, and he saw that. And he was basically forced to spend his holidays watching his wife on the neck of another man in broad daylight in public. Wow. So Bryan spent his holidays with Cynthia, Oswald's wife, who was used to this kind of thing. So, this was a very awkward holiday, and Bryan didn't say anything. He didn't put a stop to it. He didn't make them go back. So it was. So this you could have. I mean, they wanted to show this differently with a big bang at the end of the ball here, which is fine. But the real event, how it happened, I think is even more outrageous. Because they were at the holiday for maybe 4 weeks, and she basically fucks him in front of everyone.
As if this story needed more outrageous content.
And Bryan spent the entire holiday with Cynthia, and he was like, "What the fuck?" And she was like, "Yeah, that's what he does." He fucked my sister too, and the other sister. Too.
Bryan
and my stepmother. He fucks everyone, and Bryan was like, "Oh, that's not." Yeah. Mm-hmm.
What?
Yeah. Oswald Mosley had a wife. He fucked her, his wife's sister, his wife's other sister, his wife's stepmother, and Diana. At least, these are the 5 women he has sexual relations with at the same time. And this is only the ones
at the same time?
Yeah. Yeah.
But the stepmother must have been... Was the stepmother like not that much older?
No, she was not. She was not the mother. She was the stepmother. She was much younger.
And the father had married a younger woman.
Yeah, and one of the sisters, the affair with one of the sisters was not as long. The affair with the other sister was very long. So the even more outrageous thing here is that how in broad daylight, for everyone to see in Venice, but also then later in London, it was for everyone to see. And that Diana, when she decided to leave her husband, it was not for becoming the mistress of some guy. It was to become like the 4th mistress of a guy. Wow. So she really had no insurance that this would lead towards anything. He said, "I will not marry you. I am married." Yeah. And still this to her was better. It was the better option than what she had. And that's insane.
Yeah.
And Bryan was nice. Bryan was nice. But Oswald was hot. And that's just what she wanted.
Yeah, and they do hint towards it. So like at that scene between Bryan, where Bryan confronts Diana about her lunch with Oswald Mosley, and that she needs to stop that. He says, well, it's publicly known that this man is a terrible womanizer.
Yeah, yeah.
But that falls very short of what he really was.
Yeah, it was so much worse. Wow. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I understand why they went with this for the story. They wanted to combine these events. So the Lido holiday was, that was at some other time. I'm not sure about the timing, but it made sense to combine it like this for the show. And also going to Venice to shoot scenes there is expensive. So.
Yeah. They what I know in fact is for this first season they shot entirely only in England, and they said it's the first season, so they didn't have enough money to sort of go elsewhere and shoot there. Please, if anybody has more money, please give it to the team. They'll happily take it, and then they could shoot some proper swanky scenes on the Lido in Venice or in Munich and Nuremberg.
Yeah, so the bottom line is here that Diana has already made up her mind. She will leave her husband. And it's a very big jump in the relationship that we see. Because they meet once, they go to the opera, they have lunch that we do not get to see, and then they have a dance, and then she's like, oh, I'm going to leave my husband. Yeah. So the pacing of this, you said it too, you would have wished for more. The pacing is a bit off.
It's very, very fast, yeah.
So, and then, that's it. That's the episode.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
We see Diana dancing with Bryan for a last time. He does not know yet what's about to come. I mean, now we can talk about what did we like, what did we not like. The pacing of this relationship was it was a bit weird, I think. But I understand they have to fit a lot, and it's only 6 episodes.
It is covering a lot, and that first episode is a lot.
Yeah.
So yeah, I agree with that. I love the hairstyles and makeups and the costumes. That is done exquisitely, and I mean, so in the UK and the British have super experience in that, and they show it off, and it works brilliantly. So big compliments to the arts teams and departments.
Yeah. It gives you this feeling of Downton Abbey. I think it sets. I mean, the first episode, the first season of Downton Abbey is in 1913, 1914. So that's like bit earlier in time, but you have
just
the costumes.
Before World War I.
You have a big ass mansion. A lot of the Outrageous episode is plays in the house of Bryan Guinness, which is a big ass house. There's a lot of grandeur, and I think the biggest part of the production cost probably was used for making the thing look good.
Yeah,
but not cheap. I mean, there are not many people in the scenes. It's not a lot of people, but it's still. They had to work with what they had, and everyone needs a costume. Everyone needs this hairpiece that Diana has in the ball scene.
Yeah,
I want that hairpiece. It was beautiful. It reminded me of Kate Middleton once wore something like this. I think was it the wedding of Harry and Meghan? I'm not sure. It's something similar.
It's very flashy.
Leaves
it's simple and elegant and yet flashy.
So good.
Yes,
I
it
would
is.
not have an opportunity to wear that, but I want it anyway.
What someone told me at the London premiere as well, and like this is again going back as a compliment to the whole art department, and location people. So I think they said they used because of the limited budget, they used very few locations. And they reused them in intelligent ways, and they did that formidably. You don't get the sense that oh, hang on, I have seen that before. Yeah. Not at all. It looks, it doesn't look cheap at all. It looks exquisite.
Yeah,
as it should.
Yeah. So what else? What else? Was there something you didn't like or didn't like as much?
No, the timing of Diana and Oswald, the relationship that was too short, or could have been better. Apart from that, I don't really have any other big things to moan about, and we see very little of Deborah, but that is okay. She's the youngest child. She's sort of very much not the focus at that point. We'll probably see more of her later when she gets older.
We also see very little of Pam. Pam will be more visible in the next episode, I know.
Yeah. The dialogues are great. They're sort of covering a lot and giving away and giving you the feeling, the sense of it all in very few words.
Yeah.
I really enjoy it.
Yeah, I think the writing was very, very good. There was really limited lines. They transport so much information and meaning, and you take this for granted when you watch a show and it's done really well. But you would notice in a show that is badly written, then you will immediately know that no, this is bad writing. Like when you have to
Rings of power.
Yes, I wanted to say that, but yeah, I did not have to say this. You knew exactly what I meant. Like when you constantly have to say things instead of showing them, and you have to like instead of doing a scene that shows you who a person is. Yeah, is this a person who will save the kitten, or is this a person who will take the last canapé? Yeah, this will tell you a lot about a character. But instead, you probably you will have some other person talk about your character and say, "Oh, this is he is a great hero," and blah blah blah. And this is what they did in Rings of Power all the time. They characterize the main characters by talking about them. Oh, Galadriel is a great hero, blah 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 blah. But just show me.
Yeah.
We don't get to see this, and when I don't see it, I don't believe it. So,
yeah.
And this is I really like the writing. Yeah.
Yes.
In
yeah, absolutely. I also need to sort of compliment the camera team. Like there were some really great nice camera shots. Like I, as we said earlier, like the bathtub scene, like that is great. There's another really good intelligent shot as well, like at the very end, when Diana sort of like comes out with Bryan, like at that party, at the coming out party of Unity, and like after Diana told her siblings Nancy and Tom that like she'll get a divorce, you see in the same shot Oswald Mosley and Bryan Guinness, and like, but they are sort of like removed from each other. So Bryan is in the background, Oswald Mosley's in the back, and they are both talking to other people left and right. But and the camera kind of first focuses on Bryan, and then like the focus shifts to Oswald Mosley in the back, and like that is exactly what is going on in that scene, and it's brilliant. It's really great camera work.
Yeah.
And like nicely planned, perfectly shot.
Yeah, I absolutely agreed. I thought the same thing.
And we are also sort of like getting a sense of like what I find interesting, that like fascism is intriguing, or that sort of like strong men are also intriguing and can be intriguing for strong women like Diana. Diana was certainly a strong woman and like had her own will and mind. I mean, if it was an iron will as she's introduced in the very beginning, I can't really say yet, but she must have had her own mind, otherwise she wouldn't have done that very consequential decision, like, which was nuts. And yeah, like even strong women can fall for these men, and like the appeal that fascism can have sometimes, like when you have someone like with a vision.
Yeah, and I mean, Oswald hasn't done any bad fascist stuff at this time. Or I mean, what he talked about ending poverty. So this is not bad stuff. So this is, and we do know that this is really something that Diana did care about, these issues, which was very unusual for a woman of her position.
A woman who had
society.
it all.
Yeah,
who had married one of the richest guys.
So he didn't do any bad, all the stuff fascists are known for. There was no violence. I mean, not on his part. There was no anti-Semitism. There are no Jews are rounded up. Nothing bad has happened yet. So what Oswald did say is that he offers an alternative to capitalism and communism.
Yeah. Yes.
And that is the point. That is what is intriguing, and what makes us as audience open to the possibility that this could work. This could be something good,
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. absolutely.
And he was tipped as as a possible future prime minister. He was very much. Had he been in one of the big
true
parties.
as well. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Another thing I want to say about Diana and Oswald Mosley is that they were like, the feeling I got from them, like afterwards, like from the photos of the actual Diana and the actual Oswald Mosley as well, and like from the interviews with Diana I have seen and everything I know of them, is that they absolutely loved each other. They were like soulmates. They were a proper love match, as if they were made for each other. That's like, is that the sense you got of them as well?
Yes, on
because
her part.
and I'm
yes.
mainly asking now because of all his crazy affairs, his outrageous affairs.
Yeah. So on her part in the show, I thought yes. She also says something along the lines of, "I just know this is right. I just have
this is
to
the
do
man
this
for the rest of my life."
And
that's
when
what
you
she says
say
in the
something
show.
when you say something like this, I just know I have to do this. Then you cannot argue with that. I mean, what do you want to say? So just ignore.
You make a decision.
The decision is already there. So I also believe him that he's intrigued with her, but with everything I know on top, of course, it's like. Still, the decision was crazy. I mean, to become the fourth mistress of some guy, it's like, what the fuck are you doing?
100%. But so, Lyn, sorry, like what you know about Diana and Oswald, like about how their relationship continued. I mean, like, he was still married to his wife, and like he would say that he wouldn't get a divorce from her. But then later, once his wife had died, spoiler, sorry, once his wife had died, they did get married. And like, did he continue to have affairs and to be a woman, like such a terrible womanizer?
100%. 100%.
Okay.
Yeah.
He was
he did not marry
devoted
her
to Diana.
No. Yeah, he was, but so still, he still is a womanizer.
Interesting.
It's just his nature, and he didn't marry Diana right away. He didn't. It took him several years to marry her. Even after his wife was dead. It's not like he was, oh, now I'm available, let's do this. No. He waited several years, and then they were married in secret because he did not want this to be known.
Yes.
And then they
would talk about that secret marriage,
and they had to make it public because Diana was pregnant again. And she said, I don't want a third abortion. And then he said, okay, then we have to.
A third abortion?
Yeah. She had 2 abortions when she was his mistress, and she said she does not want to have a third abortion, so that's why they got married.
Wow.
He wouldn't have married her otherwise.
Oh, yeah. You know what I'm really, really interested in seeing, like if they include the abortions in Outrageous in the show. That would be interesting.
Probably not, because it's something that you can easily leave out. Maybe they will hint at it. We know from the letters that this was not a secret in the family. Diana spoke with her mother about it. All the sisters knew, so this was not something that came out years later. It's in the letters. So, what is there something else that you would like to say that we haven't touched on?
No.
Okay.
I'm keen to see the rest, to watch the rest.
Me too. And the only thing that I've heard about next episode is that it will center around Diana's divorce, and Nancy will be proposed to. But who will it be?
By whom?
Does Hamish come around? I saw a synopsis for the episodes 3 to 6, and can give you a little hint about what we will see for the rest of the season. And I think it's episode 3 or 4 that Unity meets Hitler. So this will happen fast, because Unity was in Munich for many years, and until 1939, and she was in Munich for quite a while before she met him. So they are really at a fast pace here. So she will meet him, I think, I think it was even episode 3. So
Mm-hmm.
this is really, really quick. What I mean, there's so much more coming in the story from between where we are now, the end of episode 1, to this happening. And we will see that in the rest of the episodes of season 1, Pamela will buy a car and do a car journey throughout Europe, and then will be at least engaged by the end of the season.
Spoiler!
Yeah. And Nancy will be married soon. And what else? I think I did not read anything about what's happening to Decca. Not in the synopsis, but of course things will happen. Because when Unity meets Hitler, then this is around the time that the elopement with Esmond Romilly is not too far away. Because we know that Unity talked to Hitler about this elopement. And yeah. Mm-hmm. And so Hitler made sure, because he controlled the press, of course, he made sure that the German press does not report on this, because it would show the Mitford family in bad light. And Unity was like, oh, that was so sweet of my dear Hitler. Don't you think?
Yeah. Interesting. So, I mean, let's just remember ourselves also sort of like that again in those 6 episodes. They're covering like a lot of ground. They're going from September 1931 to 1936.
In 6 episodes, yes. Yeah.
That is a lot. So yeah. Hence the pace.
Yeah.
Very understandably. Yeah.
I'm curious to see how they will keep the pace, how this will turn out. Because when things happen so quickly that Unity meets Hitler so soon, then I'm wondering, they will run out of fuel. Or they will have to slow the pace, like in the first episode of Game of Thrones, when you remember, you see the journey from King's Landing to Winterfell. It takes, I mean, this is several episodes because it's a long journey. And then in the later seasons, it's like, yeah, let's go to the wall, and whoops, I'm there. Yeah. So you can do that, but that's fantasy, of course. And they had dragons. But we will see how this turns out. I was wondering, because I felt you said that 3 seasons are planned. This is your special knowledge from the screening. The press said that at least a 2nd season is in the works, but not confirmed yet. And I'm just wondering, when they keep moving at this pace, where will they end? Will they go all through the war years, or will they show them after the war? Is this included as well? Because right now things are happening very, very fast.
Yeah. That I don't know. I'm afraid we'll have to watch it to find out.
We will, and we will be back next week with a recap of the 2nd episode of Outrageous.
Yeah. We'll watch the 2nd episode. We are both super excited about it, and then we'll give you everything about it and reality versus fiction again of episode 2. And we're excited to do that for you. And hope it's entertaining.
So we hope you like this episode, and we will see you again next week. Bye.
Thank you so much for tuning in.